Welcome to our annual goal setting class. I cannot believe that this is our 6th annual goal setting class. Some of you I know who have been with us for the last 6 years. If that's you, you've got to comment below the video or in chat and tell me how many years you've attended. If this is your first year, I want to welcome you. And if you don't know me, my name is Vanessa Edwards. I'm founder at Science of People and the best-selling author of Captivate, if you've seen this one before, and upcoming Q's. You'll notice I switched to Q's red today. So I am so honored and excited to have you here. This is the class I look forward to all year because it's a way for us to review what happened last year, learn from it, grow from it, reframe it sometimes if it's been a hard year, and then prepare more purposefully for what we want for the next year. So today we're going to be doing a lot of things. I'm going to be talking about the science-based goal setting framework. We're going to be doing some exercises and workshops together. We're actually going to dig into your goals for next year, break them down into micro goals and start achieving them. At the very end of class, I'll also open up People School, which I always do at the beginning of the year. But first, I want to kick us off with an activity. So get ready. This is actually our warm-up, and it's incredibly important for what we're talking about today. I want you to think about what your word or phrase is for last year. So when you think about the last 12 months, what's one word or phrase that you would use to describe last year, your feelings, your learnings? What's important about this is let's fast forward to 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future. How are you going to look back on 2021? So think about that. If you're brave, I want you to put your answer in the comments. How would you describe 2021 in the last 12 months? What's important about this is I want us to think about how we can reframe it with a little bit of gratitude and a little bit of learning. If you've had a hard year, and I know that many of you have had a hard year, I want you to think about what can you take away from this last year? What did you learn? Did you have any growth or any improvement? What are you grateful for? I think if we can add a word or phrase that includes a little bit of learning, it changes the way we remember the last 12 months and sets us up a little bit better for the next 12 months. So here's the big question, right? And this is why we're in this class together. How can we make next year better? How can we take all the learnings from last year? And by the way, I had a lot of learnings from last year. And when I sat down to write this class, this was the first time in 6 years where I felt like it was a hard year last year for us. How can I take those learnings and use them as fuel for growth for my 2022? And that's exactly what I want us to focus on now, is how can we together make next year better? Here is my favorite goal setting science. I don't know about you, but what happens a lot, what happened to me before I learned this science, before we created this class, and hopefully people who are attending will tell you they've watched their goals transform and change after each of these classes, is in the past, I used to set these really big goals and I was super jazzed, right? I would sit down on New Year's Day and I would write down all my goals and I would feel all jazzed up and I'd get a new journal and I'd get a new pen and I'd buy a really expensive workout outfit. And I was so jazzed for the year. And then after about 30 days, sometimes 20 days, sometimes 10 days, I forgot completely about my goals. And by month 3, I had completely abandoned them. And then I would end up having the same exact goals every year. And that's what inspired me to start this class, is I realized I was creating the same goals every year and not achieving them. And when I discovered there was a reason for this, if this is you, if you've had the same goals year after year, and you just have not been able to crack why, there is a scientific reason for this. This should provide you with relief to know that it is not your fault. Here is this amazing research. Okay, so this was done by Hal Hirschfield at UCLA. What he did is he wanted to see what happens in our brains when we think about our goals. So first, he put participants into an fMRI and he asked them 3 different activities or 3 different tasks. So while they were in the fMRI, so the fMRI was looking at their brain, first he said, think about yourself. So just imagine this for a second. You're in an fMRI machine and you're just asked to think about yourself. Okay, so think about yourself right now in your brain. Okay, good. Next, I want you to do this one next. Second, I want you to think about a celebrity. Okay, close your eyes. Think about your favorite celebrity, someone that you like to watch, someone that you maybe look up to. So think about them for a second. Now, the third one is I want you to think about yourself in 10 years. So again, close your eyes. And I want you to think about yourself in 10 years' time. 10 years' time, so 2031. Who are you? What you doing? Okay, here's what he found. This blew my mind. We use the same part of our brain for 2 and 3. In other words, when we are thinking about ourself, that is one part of our brain. When we're thinking about our future self, that's a different part of our brain. And it's the same part of our brain we use to think about people we admire. We use to think about famous people. What this means is we idealize our future selves. That when we're thinking about how we can be in the next year or 5 years or 10 years, we actually think of ourselves as a better version of ourselves. This is why we end up getting stuck with the same goals, or why we set goals that just end up petering out, or we can't stick with them 7 days later, 20 days later, 30 days later, is because when we are setting the goals, we are not thinking about how we would act. We're thinking about the best version of ourselves would act. That our future self, when we think about our future self, we're thinking about this amazing, positive, almost role model version of ourselves. And so we set goals that are impractical. We set goals without our current self in mind, which is why we can't stick with them, which is why we break them. This was such a relief for me, and hopefully it's a relief for you too, in that if you've had trouble setting goals in the past, it's not your fault. It's because you're using a mindset that's thinking about an idealized version of yourself. So I have a really big goal today, which is to combine the two. That your current self and your ideal self, that is actually the same person. So we're setting goals that you can actually hit. The question is, how do we do this? And I'm going to introduce you to my favorite goal setting framework. Here she is, our goal wheel. So I have tracked my goals using this goal wheel for the last 7 years. I was doing it myself before I even shared it with everyone. And I also know that people watching, you probably saved your goal wheels, because I like to create one every single year. What's amazing about this, and by the way, you can grab it for free at sciencepeople.com/handout. You can print it out. You can even draw your own if you'd prefer, if you're artsy crafty. I love it. So you can draw your own. Why this is so powerful, it is a snapshot of your life. The goal wheel is a very quick way that we can assess where we are right now. It's the way that we bridge our current self and our future self. And I like to have one for every year of my life. And you save these because you can begin to see your progress. Here's how they work. So I've split up our life into 6 basic categories. And by the way, if you want to change one of these, if one of them doesn't resonate with you, that is totally fine. The whole goal here is it's just a quick framework, a quick snapshot of your life. So on the goal wheel, there are 6 different areas of our life. I always put the year in the middle so that it tracks exactly where we are. So for 2021, this is our goal wheel. A 1 on this scale means you are very dissatisfied, unhappy, didn't like where it was going, didn't feel good about that section of your life. A 5, a full 5, means you were very happy, very satisfied. You feel like, yes, that part of your life was doing great. You were your best self. What's great about this is when you begin to fill it out, so this is what I want you to do on your handout or on your drawn sheet of paper. I want you to draw where you think you are in each area. So I'm going to go through each area of your life so you can begin to assess where you are. What's great about this is it's a very visual goal. I want you to have the fullest circle possible. In an ideal world, you have all 5s in all areas of your life, and your circle is big, right? When you have all 5 areas of your life, you're full, your circle is full, you have space and freedom, you feel like you have lots of areas where you thrive. What I want you to be careful of is if you have a tighter circle, if you have a lot of 1s, 2s, and 3s, that means you literally feel limited, right? You literally feel like you're not optimizing all cylinders. You're not working on your best self. This is a very quick way to visualize where you are in each area of your life. So let's start. This could be business, professional. How do you feel about your work for 2021? How do you feel about your work, your career, your business effectiveness, and your success? So I want you to give that a rating. So if it was a 1, just like in this example, that would mean you feel very dissatisfied with it. You wish you had a lot more in your business area. You wish you felt more capable or effective in your work. Next, friends. How did you feel about your social life in 2021? And this one is particularly important right now because I know that a lot of friendships have changed over the last 2 years. So how do you feel about your social life, your friendships, And specifically here, I want you to think about your support system. So this is, if you're having a bad day, do you know exactly who to call and do they help you? If you're having a good day, do you know exactly who to celebrate with and who celebrates with you? That's the critical piece here is your support system there for you in a bad day, and are they there in a good day? So that's what I want you to think about with your social support system. Next, family. How are your personal relationships? And by the way, this is however you define family. So how is your personal relationships, your partner, your spouse, your kids, if you have them? I want you to think about your family, give them a little rating. 1 being, ugh, not so great. 5 being amazing, the best it could be. Personal passion. So again, this is kind of a catch-all for what fills you. Do you have a personal passion project? Do you have hobbies or fun activities? This one is also the way that where I like to think about work-life balance. So if you feel like you're able to recharge on your time off, if you feel like you know how to recharge. I had one year where I was doing my goal wheel where I realized I had no idea what my personal passions were because I was so addicted to work. I was working all the time that I didn't even know how to recharge myself. And so this goal wheel, when I gave it a 1, it wasn't even that I wasn't doing it. It was that. It was like, I didn't even know how to recharge or do a personal passion. So that for me was my big calling that year to really get that number up, and it's up now. So I want you to think about your personal passions. Do you have hobbies or projects that recharge you? Spiritual. And again, you can define this one how you wish. It could be your faith. It could be your mental health. It could be your personal journeys. It could be your mindset. It could be quests that you have. How do you feel about your spiritual health, your spiritual wellness? Where does that fall? This is one that I think that a lot of people forget about is their mental well-being. Last one here is health. Last one. Are you happy with your physical health and wellness? And physical health can be however you define it, right? Are you meeting your physical goals, whatever that means to you? Do you feel like your healthiest and best self? So I'm going to give this a rating. And by the way, if you have to pause this and spend a little bit more time filling it out, I want you to do that. This is a snapshot of your 2021. So the reason that I wanted to have a word or phrase, and then I wanted to specifically dive into the areas of your life is because this might have updated your word. Anyone feel like you did this and it changed your word or phrase? That's great, right? This is a way that we can get a reality check on that word. So if this activity changed your word or phrase, go ahead and update that now. Here are my goals for this training. So using this information, my goal specifically is I want you to learn how to set goals that specifically target the low areas of your circle. What I've learned is that when we're thinking about the entirety of next year or even our future, it's overwhelming. We don't even know where to begin. And so we kind of pick the one that just pops into our head. Oh, I want to lose 5 pounds, or, I want to be more productive. I want us to target the low areas in your goal wheel. So if you have any 1, 2s, or 3s, 1s or 2s specifically, I want us to break down what goals can we use to target those 1s and those 2s and those 3s to get them to 4s and 5s. A lot of the times we end up targeting our 4s or 5s where we're already thriving, or we don't even identify exactly what our 1s and 2s are, and so we kind of guess. I want us to specifically target those areas so that next year, and as the year grows, your circle grows too. Like, how beautiful would that be? It's as the year goes on, you can actually feel your numbers expanding, which gives you more freedom and growth. My second goal here, and this is exactly to do with that science that we talked about at the very beginning, is we have to activate your future self now. So when we talk about goals, I want us to think about our current self, our reality, with bringing together our ideal self, so that these are one and the same, so that we're picking goals and we're thinking about who we are and what we want out of life in a very specific, reality-based way that also gets us supercharged. Okay, here's how we do it. We're bridging, right? So we just were talking about last year, right? We just did a whole bunch of deep dive on our word for last year, all of our areas of our goal wheel. We're going to now combine that with our future self, keeping that very front of mind. What word do you want for 2022? So with that goal wheel behind you, hopefully you're looking at it or you're thinking about it. What's your one word or desired phrase for 2022? If you look at that goal wheel, what do you want it to look like? So I want you to take a look at it and think, Where do I want this to look in 2022? What's a word or phrase? 2022 is a really, by the way, that's like a tongue twister. I didn't even realize that until right now. Was going to be a hard year with the tongue twisters. 2022, 2022. 2022. What is your word or phrase for 2022? Looking at that goal wheel. The reason why this is so important is because if we are super clear on our goals, if we have clarity on what we want our future self to be, it activates on our reality. The clearer we are, it bridges our current self and our future self. So your word or phrase, and again, if you have to pause right now or go and rewatch this, your word or phrase, I want you to put it everywhere. So whatever your word or phrase is, I want you to either announce it to the world. If you're my extroverts watching, go tell everyone you know. For my introverts, I want you to announce it to yourself. I want you to make it super clear for you. Here are a couple things that I want you to do to keep it really clear. Write this word or phrase on top of your to-do list every day. So what I do every day is I have a little planner that I use, and I, for the first 6 months of the year, write my word or phrase at the top of that page. And that is because the first 6 months of the year, when I'm really trying to activate, I want to keep that front and center. So every time I look at my to-do list, I see that word or phrase. I found that by the next 6 months of the year, I've been so clear about what it was, I don't even need to write it anymore. Okay, so write this on top of your to-do list. Put a Post-it note on your mirror. Get a Post-it note, go put it up right now, or put it somewhere where you see it every single day. Set an alert every day at 4:44 p.m. So another one is if you don't do as well with written reminders, set a reminder in your phone for a special time of the day or a day where you often take your coffee break that pops up as a reminder and reminds you of this word or phrase. What we're trying to do here is keep your current self and your future self in the same place. That when they're front of mind, you are actively working on filling out those areas of your goal wheel. And again, if you're feeling extroverted, go share it. You can definitely tag me if you want. I would love to see your word or phrase. Put it below the video, put it on your Twitter, put it on your Facebook. Claim that word or phrase as what you are going for next year. Okay. How do we begin to achieve our goals? So this is where we talk. So we've just been big dreaming, right? We've been dreamstorming. We've been thinking really big. Now I want to get into action steps. So remember how I talked about we have to specifically target our goals. The way that I like to do this is with what I call a micro win. I think the key to achieving your goals, what has fueled my goals over the last 6 years, and by the way, the last 6 years using the science have been amazing. So using this concept that I'm about to teach you, I was able to get through Captivate. So Captivate came out 5 years ago. I used micro wins to do Captivate. I used micro wins to get to 2Qs. I used micro wins to balance out my family life. My daughter is 3.5 years old. I had her even using micro wins. This framework is incredibly powerful because it fuels our excitement and our motivation. And I think right now more than ever, especially as we're spending way more time alone or on video calls or in virtual world, we have to be able to prevent burnout. And I think that micro wins is the key to how we can prevent burnout. Okay, so enough excitement. Let's talk about what they are. A micro win is a small accomplishment, achievement, or moment of empowerment. Here's some science about how this works. So micro wins are based on using your physiology to help you succeed and achieve things. Here's this incredible science. What research has found is that when we win, this can be big or small, it actually changes our chemistry. It changes our entire body. We love to feel like we're winning at something. What they found is for both men and women, winning produces testosterone. So testosterone for both men and women, very simplified, helps give us motivation. It helps give us energy. When we have testosterone flowing through our bloodstream, we're able to think faster, run faster. It literally is the chemical to help us be our best self or help us be a peak performer. It also triggers dopamine. So very simplified, dopamine is a pretty complicated chemical in our body, but for our purposes, dopamine is the chemical of motivation. When we feel good about something, we're excited about something. When we wake up excited for the day, that is dopamine. And so dopamine is incredibly important for us to get the energy to get these goals done. What's incredible about the research on micro wins is that small wins count just as much as big wins. That small moments of capability, small moments of accomplishment are just as powerful physiologically as our big wins. So dopamine, I really want to dive into this because I think it's such a under talked about a way that our body works for us. Our body wants us to keep succeeding. So dopamine not only makes us feel good, it gives us motivation, it prevents burnout, and it also re-energizes us to win again. My goal today is to help you create micro goals that will give you energy to keep succeeding on your goals. That one small win, one small accomplishment, one small area that you can target that makes you feel capable or good or like your best self, that actually gives you the chemistry, the chemicals to keep wanting to win. And that's how we're able to knock down all the goals that we have. That's how we're able to target all those goal wheel areas. Here are some examples. So this is a very personal example from my own life. So when I started off the year, I wanted to work on book number 2. Actually, we started book number 2 in 2020. So it's been 2 years. Big goal was like, okay, Captivate came out. It was so great. It was so amazing. I have more in me. I have more I want to share. I want to write book number 2. Book number 2 is a big goal, right? There's a lot of things I have to do for that. 65,000 words at the very least. It actually ended up being like 90,000 words. It was a lot of words. And I knew that I had 18 months to outline it, write it, research it, design the cover, talk about marketing. Those goals are huge. In fact, when I would think about them at the beginning of 2020, it started to make my heart patter. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. They're too big. And that is the biggest mistake that we make, is we set these huge goals that are very exciting, but they're kind of intimidating and we don't know what to do with them. So what I began to do is think about, okay, here are my big goals. How do I break them down into micro goals? So instead of thinking about 65,000 words, all I was thinking about was 1,000 words. 1,000 words is much more palatable. If I'm really feeling in flow, I can pound out 1,000 words in an hour or two. I also thought about, okay, how do I begin to think about this outline, right? For this huge book. Okay, all I want to think about is an anchor story for every chapter. So one way that I like to write, if you've read Captivate, you might have noticed, is I love one really juicy, inspiring story. That's a much easier thing to think about than I have to write a whole chapter today, or I have to outline 15 chapters. So one of my micro goals was just harvesting small, inspiring stories. And it would make me feel so good when I would find one, because I'd be like, oh yes, this is such a juicy one. And for Q's, a lot of them were really juicy. Lance Armstrong, Britney Spears. I was able to pull really cool stories from notables, celebrities, politicians that we could activate ourselves. So that was my second micro goal. And then I also realized that I could have micro goals within each chapter, that each chapter had its own organization. And I didn't have to think about the entire chapter all at once. I'd have to think about each portion of the chapter. The reason why I share this as a book is you're going to have your own in your own life. So I want you to think about, what are some big goals that you have? And we're going to break this down with our goal wheel in a second. What are some big goals you have? Those are good to write down. But even more specifically, what are some micro goals you can do to break down that big goal? So in this way, when I got finally to Q's, it was a bunch of tiny little baby goals jumping from one to the next. In fact, I didn't even let myself think about 65,000 words. It was too much. It was too intimidating. I didn't let myself think about, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do this for 18 months, which seems like a lot of time. It was just little baby goals. By the end, I was like, oh, we did it, right? I also want to say I'm super excited. I've been talking about Q's a lot. I'm going to do a giveaway today. So a little bit later, I'm going to give away some free copies of Q's, since I've been talking about it a lot. So make sure you stay to the end so that you can figure out how to get your Q's copy. Okay, so even more specifically than just a micro goal, as I want you to think about a 10-minute win. So not just, okay, how do I break down my big goals into small goals, but specifically, when you look at your to-do list, when you look at your goals, how can you experience a win in 10 minutes or less? This is a very radical way to think about our tasks and our to-do list. In fact, I'm going to encourage you to stop thinking about a to-do list and start thinking about a win list. What a 10-minute win does is it's a 10-minute or less activity that makes you immediately feel good, feel capable, or feel excited. It's something that when you do it, you're like, yes, I got this. I can do this. So when you're thinking about your day, I don't want you to think about your task list. I want you to think about your win list. And so when I think about my day, I have my big goal up top, right? My word or phrase that I want to keep center for the entire year. And then I start off my to-do list with a win list, which is what are 3, 2, 4, 10-minute things that I can do to immediately feel better. So on my task list, those are things that usually produce a lot of obligation. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed, I have limits, and I used to put them first, right? I used to put my to-do list, my task list first, and I would open up my to-do list for the day and be like, oh, there's so many things to do. Now, there's always going to be things that are obligation that you don't love. I put those at the bottom of my list. And instead, I start off with things that make me feel a little bit excited, that make me feel like there's possibility or opportunity. And again, these are really, really small. These aren't big things. And that way, when you open up your task list for the day, whether you write it out or you type it out or you have task management software, is the first thing you see is your big word or phrase. And the second thing you see are small 10-minute or less things that get you a little bit excited, get you a little bit feeling like, okay, I have opportunity. That's the momentum that we can use to get through our task later. That's the momentum we can use to get through things that we have to do, we feel like are not as exciting as those first things on our list. Okay, let's talk about how this works with a goal wheel. So we're going to practice. We're going to practice with this. So on your goal wheel or on a piece of paper, I want to practice doing our micro goals with each of the areas just to kind of get our juices flowing. Okay, you ready? So let's say that for business, you have a big project, so a big item on your task list or a big goal that we talked about. One small micro win might be asking someone for advice or doing a very quick check-in with a friend. I often find that when I was working on cues, if I had an idea for a story or if I wasn't sure if something was working right, I would call up one of my close friends or one of my mastermind partners. And I'd be like, can I run something by you really quick? We would laugh. I get their feedback. And I also, for me, it feels really good to ask for help. I love, love, love asking for advice. I love brainstorming and strategizing. So for me, I know that a micro win is strategizing. I love to strategize with people. So I want you to think about, for you in business, what is a small micro win, a 10-minute win that can kick you off or kick off a day, kick off this goal, that can get you feeling excited and motivated? Okay, I'm going to give you some other examples that I use, but you should be creating your own here. So as I go through these, I want you to begin creating your own micro wins. These are just to give you ideas. Okay, so here's what my micro wins are for my actual goal wheel this year. The other thing that I realize really makes me feel capable and excited and produces that little win feeling is offering help. So when I do a check-in or I'm thinking about a friend, one really easy way at the start of my day, if I'm like, oh, like how do I win today? It's literally checking in on a friend and being like, hey, are you good? I was just thinking about you. How'd that project go? Hey, how'd that talk with your mom go? And I've found that integrating that little micro win into my day, just checking on a friend, it feels so good. And it takes 1 minute for a text, or sometimes they call and we have a little check-in for a couple minutes. And I've literally told my mastermind partners and friends, hey, like one way that I win is by just checking in on you and making sure you're all good. So always feel free to ask for help if you need it too. And then, by the way, I also ask them for a lot of help as well. So those are two of my really quick wins that I often do to start a day or kickstart a day. So this is very personal to me, but one thing that I love, so I have a toddler. I absolutely love baking and cooking with her. And so I started collecting really easy toddler recipes. So a toddler recipe, if you have a toddler, is a recipe that isn't going to destroy your kitchen with how messy it is. So toddler recipes are a little bit more simple, but we have a really good time making them together. So for me, when I need a little reset in the middle of the afternoon, or I'm just feeling like, ugh, in a slump or burnt out, I'm like, okay, like what can we bake or cook together? There's something about getting your hands and being physical, and she's so silly that really helps me. So that's one of my little micro wins. And then the bonus is that you get to have like cupcakes afterwards or a cake afterwards. It's a pretty good micro win. I will admit sometimes it takes a little longer than 10 minutes to make mix cupcakes up, but it's worth those extra few minutes for sure. Okay, you'll see a theme here. One of my personal passions this last year was trying to make more recipes from scratch. This is so ridiculous, but I was very excited about making my own nut milk. It's such a weird thing, but it's true. I was like real jazzed. I was like buying all this almond milk, and I was like, maybe I can just make this. And it takes like very quick. It's like 6 or 7 minutes to make your own nut milk. And so that's one of my easy wins. That if I want a nice cup of coffee, like, you know, like that slump that you hit where you're just like, ugh, one thing I will do to just very quickly like get a little micro win is I'm like, I'm going to make my own almond milk. I'm going to make my own pecan milk. I'm weird. I know you're Probably not going to have that one, but if anyone else has that one, tell me, that little micro win. But when I am juicing my own pecans for my coffee, man, I just feel like I have got this thing figured out. I'll stop. Everyone's embarrassed for me. Okay. A spiritual one thing that I really wanted to introduce that was a really quick win, less than 10 minutes, only 5 minutes, was I use like a 5-minute breathing app. So just 5 minutes of deep breathing. I found that it can really reset my mood. It can really reset my energy. That helps me take more pauses in the day. So that's a little micro win that I've set up for myself. My other micro win. So, a lot of the times with health, people pick these really big goals, like lose 10 pounds or, I don't know, what else could people have? Learn to run a marathon. Can you learn to run a marathon? Clearly, I'm not a runner. Do a marathon? Train for a mastermind? No, train for a marathon. Train for a marathon. That's what people do. That's what people do for marathons. That's huge, right? That's a really big one. So breaking your health goals into really small goals that you can do in 10 minutes is a really easy way to kickstart or trigger those good hormones, as well as kickstart good behaviors. So for me, I invested this year, a gift to myself was a little rebounder, a little trampoline that I keep in my office. And I just try to jump for 10 minutes a day. For me, jumping, it's like the easiest little 10-minute win. It triggers all the good juices. It's also really good for health and lymph. And we're not going to sell trampolines here today, but that's one of my 10-minute wins. Okay. I go through these simply as examples for you of what you can be doing to think about breaking those big goals into smaller things. And here is my challenge for you. This is my very practical challenge. If you take one thing away from today, I want you to set aside 10 minutes every day to win, to do something, some accomplishment, some small moment of capability, something that makes you feel really good, really motivated, really capable, really excited, makes you feel like your best self, 10 minutes a day. If you could give yourself 10 minutes a day of winning, of feeling really strong and capable, that is going to trigger so much other energy. A really good way to keep this, by the way, is to do it with a partner. So I hope that you're watching this class with someone else. If not, send this class. It's free. Send it to someone else so that they can commit to some win as well. So my husband and I, we're super together on our wins. We have some shared wins. I've been talking to my daughter about wins so that I have ones I can do with her. Talk to your team about wins so maybe you can share and you can do team wins together. The more that we can share and sync up our wins, the more likely it is that we're going to keep them. And remember, wins give us energy. If you are feeling burnt out, if you are feeling stagnant, if you are feeling you're on a plateau, this is one of the fastest ways to try to squeeze more energy out of the day, to create your own energy and motivation. Okay, here's some other just crazy ideas. So watch one inspiring YouTube video, hint, hint, nod, nod. My YouTube channel is pretty great. You could always try one of those. I try to keep my videos between 6 and 15 minutes. I'm a little wordy. I don't know if you've noticed. I tend to talk a lot, so sometimes they go into 20 or 25 minutes, but you could even watch half of a video. So I try to always keep inspiring videos up, or find someone on YouTube that you're really inspired by. That's a really easy one. Go for a 10-minute walk or a 10-minute jump. Reach out to one old friend. That can be a great way to win. Unfollow people on social media. So social media clearing out, going on a toxic people diet. So when you want to feel empowered, start setting up those boundaries. One of our students told me that one of her best ways to win is just to set very clear boundaries, to unfollow people she doesn't like. I love it. Make a healthy smoothie, listen to 10 minutes of an inspiring podcast, text a family member that you love them. What an amazing way to win, is just spread out the love, spread more gratitude around, do a 10-minute task towards a big goal. So that's super capable. Everything we talked about in those business goals, is there a small thing that you can do to feel really good? Think of 10 things you're grateful for. So this is a really powerful one, and you can use it as long as it takes you. So if you can think of 10 things in 10 seconds, cool. That's an immediate way to improve your dopamine. If it takes you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, think of those 10 things. That gratitude exercise is also a secret way, a tricky way to get those good juices flowing. And this is my favorite one. Learn one new thing. I think that we underutilize our learning. And I think this happens as adults. So I don't know about you, but in school, learning was set up for me, right? There was a system for learning. I had homework and tests, and I had to learn. And as an adult, we forget that learning is a thing that we can do, that we can enjoy. Especially because if you had a hard time in school, you didn't like school, you might have associated learning with bad or frustration. As adults, we can control our learning, right? We can actually control what we learn, and learning is one of the fastest ways to win. Yes, learning, getting excited about something, learning something new, having an aha moment. Aha moment is another way of saying a micro win. When you're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. That's a small micro win. So I want you to think about, what could you learn? If you look at your goal wheel, is there anything that you could add there to learn? Learn a new language. And by the way, if learning a new language is one of your goals, that's a big goal, break it down into learning 10 words a day. There's a 10-minute win, right? Or listening to 10 minutes of a TV show in the language you want to learn. So even with these big learning goals, you can break them down into learning micro goals. And that's so if you're having a hard time thinking about micro goals, learning might be your way. So if you've been looking at your goal wheel and you're like, I don't know what micro goals I can do here, learning could be the way. Learning a language, learning 10 words a day, watching 10 minutes of a TV show. Other ideas here for you: learning to code, learning how to bake sourdough bread. By the way, that's way harder than it sounds. I tried learning sourdough bread. Is way harder, but you can try learning to bake something or cook something. Starting a garden, reading a historical memoir, or reading a book that you don't know anything about, getting a certification in something you love. I want you to begin to think about learning as a secret way into micro goals, especially if you're in a line of work that you're not enjoying right now, or if you're feeling very burnt out. You might have to borrow wins from learning if you can't create them in your job. So if you're not feeling like you're having a lot of micro wins in your task list, your job list, or day list, learning can be the secret way to do that. Another way to think about this is micro soft skills. So I think a lot of the times when we think about learning, we think about hard skills like coding or math or learning a language or getting a certification. But there's a lot of learning to be had in soft skills. This is obviously what we do at Science People and all of our YouTube videos. I secretly, not so secretly, because I'm sharing you, when I'm creating a YouTube video, I'm trying to create a micro win in there. I'm trying to teach one small soft skill, whether that's charisma or having difficult conversations or public speaking. I'm trying to do these micro soft skills. So there are so many micro soft skills that we don't even think about. How to sound confident on the phone. So when you answer the phone, do you like the way you sound? Learning how to love how you answer the phone, that is a learnable soft skill. Learning how to make a great first impression on video, making sure you don't feel awkward on video, that is a soft skill that we can learn. How to be a master conversationalist. Oh, this is like one of my favorite soft skills, because every time you use a new conversation starter, every time you learn a new conversational technique, and yes, there are conversational techniques, those are all amazing little micro wins. Because how good does it feel to interact with someone, your boss, a VIP, on a date, at a networking event, and feel like, yeah, that was a really good conversation? That's a win because it makes you feel like your best self. So even mastering those micro wins as a conversationalist, creating a memorable present, how to feel confident in meetings, how to turn an acquaintance into a friend, how to leverage your extroversion, or if you're an ambivert or introvert. All of these are micro soft skills that are very easy ways to create little micro wins. So I want you to think about, what do you want to learn in 2021? What's something that you can add as a bonus to get some of those micro wins out? What do you want to learn? You can break this down into two parts, by the way. And if you're comfortable, please share this in the chat so I can see them. What's your macro goal to learn? So maybe it's learn a language. Maybe it's learn how to be a master conversationalist. Okay, that's your macro goal. Then what's the micro goal? So if you want to learn a new language, is it learning 10 words a day? Is it having a conversation with someone for 10 minutes a day? What's the micro goal for that goal? Or if it's to be a master conversationalist, the micro goal would be try one new conversation starter, learn how to elegantly exit a conversation, learn how to deal with an awkward silence. Those are all micro goals under the conversationalist macro goal. If any of your goals have to do with soft skills, I would love to help you. And here's the thing. Our goal setting class is going to set you up no matter what. So we have tons of resources on YouTube, on our website, that are going to hopefully activate all those micro goals. If any of your goals have to do with soft skills or people or relationships or communication, I would love to be one of your learning partners if it feels good to you. I always open up a class of People School at the beginning of the year. It's my favorite class of the year. And the reason for that is because when you start People School, you pick a big goal to tackle. I read your comments after every lesson. I read all your follow-ups and your challenges, and then we try to accomplish that goal by the end of People School. So for those of you who don't know about People School, I know a couple of you have been waiting and waiting for this class to open. People School is our advanced online course. It's completely virtual. It's 12 advanced people skills. These are the people skills I wish I had in my back pocket for my career, for my family, for my communication. And we specifically gear People School for high achieving professionals, people who have really big professional goals. As I mentioned, it's completely virtual. You have lifetime access anytime, anywhere. So we have students from all over the world, people who are taking it at night, on weekends, at their lunch break, people who even take it with their company, with their managers, which is amazing. We have sometimes teams who will come into People School together. So you can take it anywhere you want, and you also have lifetime access. So one of my favorite things about People School is we've now have had students in People School for 7 years, which is incredible. And I've been able to watch them achieve their goals year after year, where they take People School every single January. So maybe you're watching this on this webinar, you're back. If you're rewatching it this year, you can rewatch it with new goals every year. So that's one of my favorite things, is you can actually come back and retake it every year. So I want to show you how the curriculum works, a little breakdown of the curriculum. So the very first skill has to do with charisma. So I break down, how is it that memorable, charismatic people show up? What is the formula for charisma? The second thing that we talk about, which is an incredibly important social skill that I think every professional should have, is when you have an idea, how do you share it? How do you powerfully share ideas so people listen? And by the way, this is for introverts, ambiverts, and extroverts. I actually have specific sections and call outs for all my introverts, because introverts, I want you to be heard without being loud. I want you to feel like you can honor your introversion, honor your strengths, and still feel respected, and still feel like you can share your ideas. So that we just talk about how to share your ideas in skill number 2, no matter what those are. 3, how do we be engaging in conversation and relationships? How do we make sure that people want to listen to us, especially in the virtual world? So if you engage a lot in virtual interactions, you can use all of our engagement skills in person, on the phone, on chat, in email. All these skills can be used in all modes of communication. So how to be more engaging. Then we have number 4 is how to capture attention. So that's number 4, might be one of my favorite skills. This is, how do we stand out? How do we be more memorable? I think everyone deserves to be more memorable. And I break down the science of how this works in skill number 4. I love skill number 4. Number 5, how to build trust. Okay, so the first, if you've noticed a little pattern in the first 4 skills, the first 4 skills are about how you show up, how you get people to listen to you, how you make sure that you have impact and influence. The second 4 skills, the second kind of phase of People School, is much more deep. It's about how to build trust. It's about how to build deeper connections. Number 6 is all about how to communicate with power. So this is reaching people more quickly, how to develop deeper relationships with your colleagues, your customers, your clients, your partners. We have both entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs who are in the course. So the skills luckily are used no matter what kind of type of person you're working with. Number 7 is a really, really fun lesson on likability. So I want to teach you my likability blueprint. How do humans like someone, and why does that help us in our career? I think a lot of people don't realize that likability is a job skill. That it's not just nice to be liked at work, you actually have to be liked at work. That if you want to be more productive with people, likability is the way that we can be more productive with people. Oh, 8 is super fun. 8 is all about decoding. So how do we decode hidden emotions? How do we read microexpressions? Not only how do we read microexpressions. So in Captivate, I talk a little bit, I have a chapter on how to read microexpressions. This section is not only how to read them, but how to respond to them. How do we handle and how do we read between the lines on emotions that are lurking behind people's words? If you have a lot of difficult people that you work with, skill number 8 is a really, really good one to have in your back pocket. All right, number 9, how do you master conversation? So I just talked about how there are micro goals in conversation. Skill number 9, and by the way, there's a reason I save master conversation for skill number 9, because it's super advanced. Once you want to tackle your conversational goals, there are some very specific steps that you can take to master conversation. I give you a flow for mastering conversation, as well as a couple of different micro goals. It's such a juicy one. I love it. I love all of them. I know you can't have like 8 favorites, but like them all. And also, I think that depending on where I am in my life, there's ones that I like even better. And our students have told us that too. At the very end of People School, we ask everyone to give us a big survey about what they learned and how we can do better and how we can improve People School. And I always ask your favorite skills. And what people have told us is when they've taken People School year after year, their favorite skills change, that they might come back and realize that they really needed number 6 at a certain point in their career. And they really needed master conversation when they were applying for a new job. A lot of our students will retake People School when they're in a new position or a new role, or they want to raise their rates. They'll retake it to remind them of that goal. Number 10, how to be socially assertive. So how do we set boundaries? How do we make sure people respect those boundaries? How do we make sure that we are clear in our communication where people will respect us without having to feel like we're sacrificing who we are? That's a really important skill to have. 11, now we're getting to the very advanced skills, how to increase your influence. So I think we need to use all the skills to build up to this one. So all of the science that you're going to learn, all the action steps that you learn kind of bring us to increasing your influence of how do you show up in the world? How do you make sure that you're showing up exactly how you want? How do you take control of your impression and your presence? It's a really empowering one. The last skill is about connection. This is really important if you work with other people. So if you have a team or you work with clients or colleagues, you have to get buy-in. The very last skill is all about how do we strengthen our connections? What are the 5 different aspects of strengthening connection? It sort of brings everything all together. So here's from a logistics perspective, how does People School work? So as I mentioned, it's all virtual, but we do like to send you goodies. So I love a virtual learning environment, but I also like to send gifts. So when you enroll in People School, we send you a workbook and a physical workbook for you to work through all the lessons and a gift box. And the gift box is so good. I actually think I might even have a picture. Oh, yeah, there it is. We don't show you what's in there, but you're going to get a box to your doorstep. And we have so many People School students who tell me, oh my gosh, when this box shows up on my doorstep to be a dream builder, all of my neighbors are like, what's in there? What is that? So in that box, you get some really, really cool little goodies. So your workbook and your gift box. And then once you enroll, you get access to the 12 video training modules. So right now, this is 31 and more hours of content. We are constantly adding content. So what's really important is as we get feedback from our students and people ask us questions, we want to add more. So if there's anything that we're missing in the curriculum, I add videos. I add curriculum. It's an ever-changing content, but your 12 skills are in each module. So in each module, each skill has 3 parts: science, framework, strategy. My goal is to make sure that we're not just talking about interesting science, we're actually activating that. And after every lesson, I want you to immediately be able to use it. Every video training module also has Q&A. We also have audio versions of each skill. So every skill is 4K, beautiful HD video. We filmed it on a gorgeous set for you, but we also have audio recordings because a lot of our students tell us they watch the video and they want to re-listen to it in their car or when they're running or when they're organizing or cooking. And so we also have the audio version for you if you want to listen to it afterwards as a reminder. The bonuses are for life. So as we keep adding bonuses, you always get access to those bonuses, which is amazing because we're able to always add new content and address new challenges that are coming up. You also get access to our email concierge. I want to make sure that as you're learning, as you're in People School, you feel like you can ask questions, you feel like you have help, you feel like you have support system. So our entire Science People team is waiting for you. We are ready for your emails. We always answer your questions and make sure everything works. So you get access to our email concierge as soon as you enroll. And one of my favorite parts of People School is our live monthly workshops. So every single month, we have a live workshop. I spend the first 30 minutes teaching new science. I teach all the latest tips. We look at examples. We workshop ideas together. We do case studies together. And the last 30 minutes or more, I spend answering questions. I love reviewing your elevator pitches. So we actually have a section in skill number 4 where we review your elevator pitches. So I review them live. I get your feedback. We chat. I love our monthly workshops because it helps us really activate what everyone's going through. So if there's any questions that are coming up as you're using the skills, that's what I address in the live monthly workshops. We also have fun. We listen to music. I show you hilarious videos. I show you embarrassing videos. I present new science. And then we do those questions, case studies, and practice, activating all the things that we're learning. The next question we get is, what types of students do we have in People's Schools? So we have students from all over the world, many different countries, many different time zones, which I love because it gives us so much different perspective. And we typically have three buckets of students, how we think about it. The first group is our professionals. So high achieving professionals looking to level up their career, whether that's entry level, mid level, or even C-suite, who are wanting to activate or specifically target communication skills or relationship skills they know that they need to activate their career. The second group is our entrepreneurs. We also have some side hustlers. So these are folks who are running their own business or want to run their own business or are side hustling their own business who need people skills to get investment, to get their ideas heard, to interact with teams for the first time, to pitch themselves well. So I love our entrepreneurs because they are using people skills specifically to activate and accelerate their own business. The last group is so fun. So our last group we call our pivoters. So there's many people who start People School and they need a reset. They're like, something in my career isn't working. Something needs to change. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm going to take People School to try to clarify what I want for my life next. So I call these folks our pivoters. They often start People School with ideas and questions they want answered. And as they go through all the skills and activities and exercises, they discover what they want next. And so by the end of People School, they're pivoting or they're changing or they're thinking about a new direction that they want to hopefully get a little bit of a reset. This is a super special class. I am offering bonuses I've never offered before. These are really, really unique and special. They're so special that they actually expire by January 7th. So I have not announced this yet. This is the first time I'm announcing it. January 7th at midnight. If you enroll by January 7th at midnight, the very first thing you'll get, the first bonus, is you will get access to our new micro expression training. We are creating a brand new training. It is a few weeks away. So if you enroll by the 7th, you will be one of the first to be able to take it. It's called Decode. This is an incredible way to level up your emotion spotting. We developed this training, and if you enroll by January 7th, you will get Decode for free. You'll also be one of the first people to get it. I am super excited about this training. I haven't even announced it yet because it is a way to truly level up your interactions. So in Decode, we have a whole new approach to learning micro expressions. It's super fun, super unique. I've never done or seen anything like it before. So Decode, if you enroll in the next 7 days or by January 7th, you will get Decode, a $395 value for free. So I'm super excited about that. This next bonus is super fun and super special because for the first 30 people, if you are really ready, if you're like, yes, I've been waiting for People School, I want it right now. For the first 30 people who buy People School, you are going to get a very special signed copy of Cues. And this is a very special signed copy of Cues. I won't tell you exactly how, but for the first 30 people, you're going to get a signed copy of Cues. And that is really exciting because it's going to solidify a lot of the ideas that we've been talking about here today. It's filled with micro wins. It's filled with macro goals. So if you're really ready, the first 30 people will get signed copies of Cues. Yes, love that. Had to have a slide animation there. I also want to remind you that there are so many other bonuses when you enroll in People School, not just the 12 modules, but we have new bonuses we're adding all the time. How to get your raise. So if you're thinking about that you want to raise, how to have that conversation. Also for entrepreneurs, if you want to raise your rates, I have an entire bonus with a formula and scripts that you can use to get your raise or raise your rates. How to do cold approaches at events, how to better find your people. I have a pre-event social meditation that you can use. If you have social anxiety, I love this meditation because it helps you with that. We have a conversation swipe file. I have a ton of favorite resources. We have a Captivate secret chapter. Yes, there is a Captivate secret chapter. We have all kinds of bonuses like how to take the perfect profile photo. But I think that the best bonus is that not only do you get access to our new live monthly workshops, you're also going to get access to every previous monthly workshop. It is many, many dozens of hours of content, and it's a way where you can rewatch and see how other students are activating the skills. Also, I answer all the questions. We also have a brand new office hours library where we break down all the questions with timestamps. So even if you had a question, you could go back to an old office hours and watch it. So that office hours library is a huge resource that you can continue to use for any questions you have as you learn. So those are all bonuses, and we keep adding to them. Here's my big push for you is if you need a little reset, if you want to make 2022 a little different, if you want help or encouragement with your goals, I know that sometimes tackling big goals can feel very lonely. It can be very overwhelming. If you just want a community of people to support you, if you want us helping you and encouraging you, we all need motivation. One of my micro wins every day is logging into People School and cheering you on. I love cheering on People School students. I love creating examples and case studies during our live monthly workshops. It's one of the favorite parts of my day and my week. And so if you want a little more help, if you want a little more encouragement, People School might be the right choice for you. I hope you'll consider joining. But mostly I want to say thank you. Thank you for those of you who have attended our goal setting workshop for the last 6 years. We are doing it together. I'm so grateful for your likes and your clicks and your watches. I'm grateful for your support. I feel like I have one of the best jobs in the world in helping you. I really love hearing about what you're experiencing, what you're learning, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity that you would allow me into your home or into your workspace for this workshop and for this time. And I want to thank you. So I hope I'll see you in People School. If not, I'll see you for our next goal setting workshop, and be sure to tell me below what your micro win is today. All right, everyone. Bye.